Okay, happy Wednesday, everyone. It's Kihon Miller, and we're here with our weekly Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. I think this is it. Got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm recording for you people. Anyway, so the topic for this week's Whiteboard Wednesday is actually based on one of the most commonly searched terms on YouTube when people are looking for self-defense. If you don't believe me, you can look this up, right? If you start to type this stuff in, if you type in terms like self-defense and all that, right? There's that auto-suggestion kind of thing, right? This is a statistical thing. You can look it up, prove me wrong, all that wonderful stuff, right? We're going to take a look at answering this question, how to end a fight fast. More specifically, and I'm going to show you how this is actually in our lineage, right? How to end a fight in less than, how to end a fight in 10 seconds, right? Or less, 4 moves or less, okay? So, again, answer some questions for some folks, just generally self-defense realm. But what we're actually going to do is bump things up and to look at your training from an upper intermediate to advanced level, right? So not take away from anybody that's in the beginner stages or whatever, but in the beginner stages, training like this should point you in the direction that we're, right? And give you more specifics, right? Rather than just kind of focusing on, I want to be able to defend myself, right? I want to be able to kick ass. I want to be whatever. Really, really vague terms, right? Never, ever, ever, ever forget that vagueness begets vagueness, okay? So the more specific we can be, the more targeted we can be on what we're working on, what we're shooting for, and all that kind of stuff, the greater our chances of success, right? One of my mentors says all the time, that which gets measured gets accomplished, okay? Because we always know where we are relative to where we're going. We always know what the gap is. We always know what to work on, right? Anyway, so I'm looking at my notes right here. I want to make sure I don't miss anything because I just like a quick 2-3 minutes, jotted down some quick notes for this, and I want to keep going. So we're looking at how to end a fight fast, right? How to end a fight in 10 seconds or less, right? 10 seconds or less. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at 3 things. We're going to take a look at why, right? Why would you even want to learn how to do this, right? I mean, after all, sport competition kind of things, they've got 2-minute rounds, 5-minute rounds, whatever. And you got two of those, 5 ever, right? But anybody that's ever been in a real knockdown, drag out, self-defense survival situation as opposed to a sport contest knows that 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, a minute, whatever, is an eternity, okay? And we'll talk about how that relates to a battlefield kind of thing as well. But we're going to take a look at the why, right? Why would we even want to learn this, right? We're going to take a look at what this is related to within our training, right? We've already done a couple of Whiteboard Wednesday kind of lessons on this. I've mentioned certain things like this in Kuden and some other videos that we have, and there's more to come. But we're going to take a look at a core set of skills that this is related to, right? And again, I'm not going to dive into it too deeply because we've got other stuff coming, but we want to make sure we clear up some dumb shit mistranslations, okay? And the third thing we're going to take a look at is the science behind how it's, how it's done, why it's done, right? And how it shows up in our Ninjutsu self-defense techniques, okay? And again, if you're watching and you're not involved in Ninjutsu and all that, that's okay, right? Just like one of the best testimonials I have for my book, Advanced Self-Defense Combat Tactics, which is in Kindle format over on Amazon, was from somebody that's actually in a whole different art realm or whatever. Best testimonial ever was, look, if you're looking for moves, this book's not about that. It's about a framework for strategic thinking and operation that can be overlaid over anything, any self-defense style, martial art, whatever, because it's not about style, okay? If you're all wrapped around style, I'm not your guy, okay? So anyway, so those 3 things, why, what, and the science or the how behind it and how that's actually packed into our techniques if you know what you're looking for. Now, if you're still down on the shoe level of training, right, where you're still trying to copy things and get the step-by-step right and all that, no harm, no foul, right? This is at least in the hobby, the variation, the transcending, we're going to be touching upper intermediate, but definitely over the advanced levels because this is all about controlling the bubble. Okay. All right. So let's jump into it. Right. So why? Right. Why would we want to learn this? Right. The whiteboard comes in. Otherwise, I would just be in your head standing here talking to you. Right. Okay. So, and what we started I think last week, right? What we started was after every one of these, my admin assistant, actually the guy that's running my online stuff, James Alexander, he's going to go back in and grab these things and make up a quick worksheet, cheat sheet, whatever that you'll be able to grab, right? So we'll make sure down in the description below, there's a link to it. You'll be able to jump over onto a page, download it, right? That way you can put it in your notebooks. You can have this running guide, right? It's a whole lot easier to whip this thing out and look down the points and stuff instead of like pulling out the video all the time, right? But if you can download the video and stick it over as this extra lesson, that would work too, right? But why? Okay, one. Okay, we're going to take a look at adrenal response. Okay, the adrenal response. Okay, two. Well, actually, let's just do these one at a time, right? The adrenal response. Okay, everybody knows about fight, flight, that kind of thing. It's actually fight, flight, freeze. But we're not actually just looking at this. What we're looking at is that when the body goes into this mode and we need to like shit move, right? Okay. What ends up happening for that quick burst of energy is the body dips into the sugar stores, the glycogen stores in the muscles. Okay. It's kind of like doing a wind sprint when you're running, right? So it drops into the glycogen stores because that sugar is a quick burn and we can go, but it only burns for so long. And then we need to get into the fat stores and stuff like that, right? But what ends up happening is this glycogen store, this glycogen burn lasts for about 7 to 11 seconds. We don't give you more than 10, okay? So if you need a quick burst of speed and you need something very, very quickly, it's got to be done in less than 10 seconds, right? And again, depending on your health and all that kind of stuff and how your body's operating with the storage of things, the glycogen, the rebuild, the release, that kind of stuff, right? Okay, it might be as low as 7 seconds, but what ends up happening, and we'll take a look at this in another video down the line, is there are these like spikes and troughs, okay? So later on as a strategy for dealing with somebody who's faster, stronger, that kind of thing, where they might be clinching you and holding you down or holding you in place or whatever, right? What we want to be doing is matching our glycogen spikes to their rest periods. And I don't mean they rest and take time off and kick back and all that, right? What actually happens is the body goes into a holding pattern for about 7 to 11 seconds so the body can restore those glycogen stores in the muscles so the person can do it again. Ask any runner that does long distance stuff, right? Or that does it for fitness, right? Jogging along, and all of a sudden they'll do a sprint and go as fast and as hard as they can for as far as they can. And what ends up happening is about every 7 to 11 seconds, it gets longer the more they condition themselves, but about every 7 to 11 seconds, they got to slow down and go back to a jog or a fast walk, right? Because the body needs to put it back and then they can go again, okay? So the strategy is to know what that feels like and to know that it's operating, because if you don't know it's operating, you can't use it, right? But we want to match our spikes to their troughs. So when they're in a holding pattern, that's when we're going to go. When ours is burned off, what we want to be doing is resting and not using anything that's not necessary to protect ourselves against what they're doing. So if they've got us in a clinch or a bear hug or whatever, right? I want to relax everything that doesn't have to do with like breathing, okay? Everybody keeps thinking about winning all the time, right? Sometimes you just need to go into a holding pattern. Watch MMA fights, okay? Watch when these guys get into this clinch kind of thing. When the guys break free, know this, right? They'll be in there and they'll be, protecting the neck or the throat or the lock or whatever. And then there'll be this little transition kind of thing, right? It's not huge. You have to know what you're looking for. And then they go into action and get themselves out. The ones who can't are the ones that are like flailing around and kicking and still trying to fight, right? When they should be letting things reset, right? But it's about understanding how the body works. But first thing is you only have so many seconds of glycogen stores in your muscles, and you got to make this happen. Yeah, but Sensei, what about like a fight that, like I've seen fights that go on for like, 2 minutes, whatever. Yeah, I get it, right? What I'm talking about is the moment that he comes in and you've got to do something or you start actually applying technique, right? You're burning up those glycogen stores. If we're just maintaining distance and moving and whatnot, right? It's not the same. It's not the same, okay? We're talking about a quick, right? He's coming in, he's there. I got to make sure this happens, right? Your job and the best in Japan have reiterated this stuff for decades, right? Your job is not to win. Don't lose, but your job isn't to win, right? Your job is to quickly, effectively, and efficiently break his body down as quickly as possible so he can't come in your direction. Okay? And if you look at your techniques from that perspective, instead of kata collecting, like collecting, ooh, I got that one. Ooh, I got that one. Look at me. I got like a whole scroll. Great. Fantastic. Now what? Okay? Anyway, adrenal response, right? We need to understand the science of the body. Okay? 2, okay, survival considerations. Survival considerations. If you've known me for any short, long, whatever period of time, you know that I am not here to talk tradition or anything like that unless it is directly related to self-protection, right? And self-protection is survival. It's not style. It's you get the hell out so you can go home and tuck your kids or your grandkids or your wife or your whatever in bed that night. Because you know what? They don't give a shit. They don't give a rat's ass about how you got there. They only care that you're still on this side of the grass or you're this side door, the mortuary or whatever, right? Okay. So survival considerations. We have to remember that this is not a contest, right? There's no ref. There's not none of this other stuff. I keep hearing, I just saw another video the other day with some ex-CIA operative, supposedly, right? Talking about why martial arts doesn't work and all that. But the more he talked, the more he exposed himself that all of his experience and the reference that he was talking about, he didn't admit it. He just exposed it, that was comparing what he's doing to sport martial arts. Okay? It's a contest, whole different paradigm. Okay? So we have to be careful. We have to understand, right? So what are some of these survival considerations, right? So one of them, which my teachers made sure we were really clear on from the very beginning, are his friends. When was the last time you saw some MMA guy, Chuck Liddell or whoever, that's how long it's been since I've watched one of these damn things, right? Start losing, and all of his friends come rushing from the stands and jump in the ring and beat the living shit out of the guy that was winning. You don't, right? Okay? Yeah, well, WWE. I'm not talking about WWE, so let's not even go there, right? His friends, okay? You start winning. As long as he's winning, his friends are cheering him on, right? You start winning, more of them are going to step in and kick your ass, okay? Let's look at a battlefield consideration. Talked about this before, right? Okay. Before we do this one right here, a battlefield here, right? This goes up to adrenal response here. Yeah, but Sensei, what about like on a battlefield? I mean, you could be fighting if you survive that long. You could be fighting for an hour, 3 hours, whatever, right? What about battles like that? I'm going to direct you to something, right? If you've ever seen the movie The 300, which was about the Spartans that held off the Persian army for like 3 days, right? Now, it was a shit ton of strategy and things like that were going on. They bottlenecked them into this closed off pass and whatnot, had specific tactics and stuff like that allowed them to survive for that long because they were freaking not just thugs, right? Okay. In the movie, watch the battle scenes, right? The battle scenes are not just a bunch of guys clashing and all that kind of stuff, right? What they do is switch to sometimes it's black, sometimes it's red, I think, right? And then the opposite color, black or red, right? Silhouettes of the combatants running along the battlefield, right? And you never see somebody get involved in more than one little cut, block, parry kind of thing. What you see 99.8% of the time is this guy running along. Here comes Jackwagon, the enemy, right? Coming in to hit him with a hammer or sword or whatever, sidesteps it and either lops off an arm, decapitates him, which happened every once in a while, or takes out a leg, or just run through, right? But more often than not, they were just taking off limbs. Why? Because I don't need to stand there and fight with this guy for 2 minutes, right? Because if I lop off his arm or his leg, he's going to collapse to the ground and he's going to bleed out. I don't need to kill him. Nature will take care of that all by itself, okay? But you see what's happening, right? There's a quick 1 or 2 second engagement, and then I'm moving on, and the body's rebuilding the glycogen store for the next thing. Or if this engagement took 1 or 2 seconds, not the full 7 to 10, I can parse out that glycogen store, okay, and allow me to last longer, right? And of course, the more I do it, the more the body's going to be conditioned to have more glycogen stores ready, because my lifestyle allows my body to condition itself a certain way so that it can get through my days, right? Okay, let's go back down to this where I talked about his friends, okay? One of the things I had to worry about as a military policeman, federal police officer, was I go to a bar, right, and I have to arrest somebody, right? We need to have eyes in the back head, or we need to have partners and know how they're looking for to make sure that somebody else doesn't come off a bar stool and come over and step in. And now you've got a multiple attacker situation, and you don't just have a one-on-one kind of thing like in the ring. Okay? On a battlefield, right? Again, I don't have time to bullshit ching, 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 ching. Like you see, like everybody's getting all jazzed and hard nipples and whatever, right? For in the movies where you're watching this damn thing, because I'm doing this thing, winning against this guy, his compatriot kills my guy, and then turns around while I'm in the middle of ching, 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 and stabs me, and they both run off for the next engagement. Okay? You don't have time for that shit. Okay? From a ninja's perspective, I don't want to risk, which we're going to talk about next, is legal considerations, but I want to get the hell out of here, right? So might as well just jump into that, right? Legal considerations. The longer the fight goes on, the more people pay attention. Most of those people didn't see the fight or the attack start. So if you're winning, a shit ton of them are going to make the assumption that you started it and you're the bad guy. And you can't defend yourself against witness perception if that becomes the dominant storyline going to court. Right? You better hope for video, and even video, right? Netflix, I think, had a documentary by a video forensic guy, right, who was poking holes in the whole video thing, because most people assume, well, there's video, dude. How do you argue against that? Angling, lighting, all kinds of stuff, right? That video is not as perfect as most people would think, right? Let's get a quick drink here. Okay, so legal considerations. What kind of legal considerations are we talking about, right? We're talking about things like, I'm going to have to shift here, right? Self-defense law, okay? Self-defense law across the nation, across most states, right? It's gonna be worded a little bit differently in every state, but what the gist is the first thing or the minimum you do to stop the attack from happening. Okay? To stop the attack from happening is justifiable, right? The more the greater you believe that your body you're in danger of serious bodily harm or death, the more you're allowed to do, as long as it's first action minimum, right? It'd be a good idea if you like the court of law that you're able to do this, right? Okay, so if I go beyond that, I drink a guy in the first couple of seconds and I start kicking him in the head or stomping on him, or these guys on YouTube, you can look these guys up too, that do a comparison between like stylized martial arts and real fighting, right? Except they're not looking at a real fight. They're looking at some jagwagon just beating the shit out of somebody, right? That's not self-defense, right? You can call it whatever you want, but it's not self-defense, right? It's an attack, right? And if you can't prove that you weren't fighting, right? Right? Self-defense and fighting, two completely different things. That's why people hire me to go to court to help them with things, because of the way I define things, right? But self-defense law, we got to know it. We got to stick to it, right? I already talked about this one, right? Witness perceptions, right? Witness perceptions, right? If you're not controlling them, you're not controlling the whole bubble of the fight, right? You're only ducking punches or kicks or knives or whatever, right? Okay. Now, you may not care, but you may care afterwards, right? Because I've said this over and over and over again. In every self-defense situation, there are at least, or there could be up to 3 attackers. And I don't mean people coming at you. I don't care how many are attacking you in the moment. First attack is the actual physical onslaught that you have to stay alive against, right? Or stay out of the emergency room against, right? That's attacker number one. Attacker number two is me, right? My own guilt, shame, trauma, whatever, PTSD, right? It could overwhelm me, shut me down. I can't operate for hours, days, weeks. Shit, some people that thought they were all out in a bag of chips, right? Find out just how serious this is because they're traumatized for the rest of their damn lives. Right? I know a corrections officer that thought he was all that in his uniform, completely forgot they're outnumbered by 20 to 50 to 1, depending on the facility that you're in, right? Walked around like ass was all that, right? And somebody put a bunch of soda cans in a pillowcase and beat him what they thought death. I saw the pictures, right? Not cool. He recovered from that, decided maybe he needed some more training than the Thursday at 3 o'clock graduate kind of thing, right? That the government does. Came to my classes, okay? Learned some stuff. It was time to go back to work, right? Confidence was up. It was all good. He had new skill set, all that kind of stuff, right? Goes back. Didn't last more than 2 days. Okay? Had to quit his job because he had a nervous breakdown because simply going into the facility just overwhelmed him, right? What he thought he got over, didn't get over, right? Now he's on permanent disability because he's screwed in the head, right? One, he probably shouldn't have walked around. He was all that in a bag of fucking microwave popcorn. Anyway, right? And the third legal consideration is in if nobody can identify you after the engagement is over, okay? We're training to be ninja, for God's sake, right? So disappearing. In the Togakure school, right? There's a shit ton of technique that it's a 1-2 kind of engagement to stall this guy or to blind him or whatever, to drop him, but not kill him, right? And it's not because you didn't want to. It's just get this with, right? And then they roll off behind bushes or in modern day world, between parked cars, whatever. You freaking vanish, right? If he can't find you, right? Okay? So disappearing, okay? If witnesses can't identify you, if he can't, describe you, if they can't find you, whatever. Because remember, right? You may defend against that moment and you may beat his ass, but don't you ever, ever, ever forget the power of revenge. His family's, his friends, whatever. Okay? You could win that battle and spend the rest of your life, however long or short it may be, looking over your damn shoulder. Okay? Or maybe not looking over your shoulder because they go after your family. Okay? So just like I tell my teenagers, well, they're not teenagers anymore. They're often right. What I used to tell them when they would do something and think they were being all slick and smart, the difference between you and me is you don't think big enough. Okay? I see a big picture. You see this thing in front of you that you're either trying to avoid or feel good about. Okay? Now I know you guys are smarter than that. So, but anyway, but don't ever forget, right? Okay. So here's the why, right? Okay. Got to keep moving on because again, try to keep these things as short as possible because I know that people, based on the way cell phones and video games and all that kind of stuff that's conditioning these days, right? I know that most people have the attention span of a goldfish. And that's scientific data as well. You know what the attention span or the memory capability of a goldfish is? 8 to 10 seconds. Right? Which is why the most watched videos have to keep people engaged and have to do things, right? Every about 8 to 10 seconds so that people keep watching, which is why everyone stop a damn F-bomb or something like that. Because if I don't wake somebody up, right, they're off the next cat video or they're off watching the next cool beatdown video or whatever because they forgot that they were looking for self-defense and they got all caught entertainment, okay? Education turns into entertainment, right? So I have to walk this fine line like, I don't know what, edutainment, right? Anyway, all right, so that's the why, right? Okay, what's it related to, right? Number 2, right? What are we really looking at, okay? So, again, there's that little URL right there, right? We've got this masterclass going on this Friday where you'll be able to jump in, take a look at it, right, and get some actual concrete examples. I'm going to showbox some today to kind of give you an idea and draw some stuff up here. But Friday, we're into action so you can actually see techniques, okay? So, again, if you can make it on it, that'd be great. If not, no harm, no foul, wah, 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 right? Just use the rest of the lesson. So what's it related to? What are we really talking about, okay? I know we've mentioned it, but we have a video coming in a couple of weeks on this concept, right, of, in Japanese, it's called Tai Sabaki, Okay. And the techniques sometimes are just related to as sabaki gata, right? Depending on the lineage you're talking about and all that, right? But sabaki, okay? Tai sabaki, let me just make sure that my system is still working because I don't see the normal activity that we normally coming and going. Can see anybody checking in? Are we on? Sorry, this is going to look a little odd for those of you watching. We might go back and edit things later. I'm going to try to flip things over here because we lost the high speed that we normally have. So now things will look better. Okay. Anyway, so Tai Sabaki, right? Tai Sabaki is often mistranslated, right, as evasion, right? So sometimes it's translated as footwork, sometimes whatever, right? Okay. That's what happens when people have like that much information and then they try to make assumptions about everything else, right? There is an element of Tai Sabaki that we're evading the thing that's coming in, right? We're shifting offline, getting out of the way, right? But Tai Sabaki doesn't mean evasion, right? There's a whole other word that means evade, avoid, that kind of thing, right? Tai Sabaki, the word Tai means body, right? Like in Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, that kind of thing, right? Shizen Tai, body, okay? Sabaki, right, means management. Okay, and I don't mean like upper management, employees, that kind of thing. It means management to manage, right? Oh shit. Anyway, right? So Tai Sabaki, body management. What that means is I'm using my body in a way, right, that focuses on the goals, right? The goal of management in a business, right? I know the employees don't think so because they just think that these people are just bossing them around. Why don't you just leave me alone? I'll do my job that way, right? Because companies put those people in place because they know that most people do just enough to not get fired, right? So there's that, right? But these people also have to track results, right? Time efficiency, productivity, those kind of things, right? Because, right, otherwise we could be wasting money, and then these people that don't like management are going to be complaining when the place has to shut down because they pissed everything away and efficiency went to hell and the company ended up wasting money and losing money, and now we got to shut the doors. So those paychecks you were getting, yeah, we're not printing the money in the basement, right? So, but the whole idea with Sabaki or Tai Sabaki is we're evading an incoming attack, or we're handling it, blocking it, evading it, whatever, right? And at the same time, we're evading or neutralizing it, right? We're removing our targets from access from him, and we're exposing as many of his targets as possible at the same time, okay? Tai Sabaki is made up of two sub-aspects, right? There is something called Ashi Sabaki. Okay, so if I told you that Ashi means leg or foot, yes, it means both because this stuff was written down way before Admiral Perry brought Western science terms. So if you can't translate those, you're going to mistranslate things based on your modern translation and the way the Japanese look at it today, right? Okay, so now we have leg or foot management, footwork, right? Proper use of the legs and all that to make this stuff happen, okay? So there's Ashi Sabaki and there's Tei Sabaki, hand-arm management, okay? But this is also extends out to any weapon I might hold, right? Precision, the ability to put it where it needs to be for cover, target access, those kind of things, right? Okay? So it's related to Tai Sabaki. And again, later on, we'll do a deep dive into this because this is one of those things that this is the difference between somebody who's doing martial arts techniques, and a master or expert who is controlling the bubble, controlling their perceptions, controlling their options, controlling their actions, controlling the bubble, right? Okay. So you're going to hear me talking a lot about that when we do this class on Friday. Okay. All right. So it's precision, all that kind of stuff in here, right? And then the third one, which is where we'll start taking a look at some things now, which will entertain everyone, right? Is a couple of examples, right, about how this shows up, right? So I'm just going to write examples on here. And I'm going to do 2 today. I'm going to do one with one of our Kihon Happo techniques, or Kihon Gata, right? And I'm going to do one with a sword Kihon. Again, it's just me, right? I'm going to draw a little bit when it comes to the sword stuff, but I'll just demonstrate the unarmed thing, right? So the unarmed example is going to be Jumonji no Kata. For those of you who are in this art and know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. And not just the introductory version, right? There's 3 variants at least of each thing, right? Remember that old lesson that we did on the 3 and 1, 1 and 3 concept out of the Gyoko school, right? It's a 2-part series. Okay? If not, head back, right? Find it. Okay. So Jumonji no Kata, right? And then I'm just going to call this other one Ken no Kihon. Okay. So one of the reasons why I have the camera farther back than I normally do, right? So you might have to squint to see this more, especially if you're looking at the damn phone, right? Is I needed you to see more of my body. Okay. So there are a couple of different variations for doing this Jumonji no Kata kind of thing, right? A Gyoko version would look like this, where you go from Jumonji to Ichimonji and drive this Boshiken in, and then there's this distraction coming out. It could be a distraction, right? It could be a shot to the ribs, and then we're going to pop up underneath the arm here, right? Or it could be this shot where we're coming up, fingers, shakuken or whatever to the eyes or whatever, okay? Because what happens when I hit here? In soft training, nothing, okay? In the training that everybody's trying to avoid, I hit this, that drives back, and the face comes forward, right? So I pop that hit, and I'm going to catch that incoming face, right? Or eyes or whatever, okay? So see, it's already in there, right? Because what we're looking at doing is this concept called San-Uchi. Okay? San-Uchi, triple striking. All right, now I'm going to make an assumption that this went way before the reference point I'm going to give you, but I got this under good authority, as in like from Soke, right? That Hatsumi Sensei learned this from Takuma Sensei, who learned this from his teacher. I think it was Ishitani, okay? No, Ishitani was his uncle. Toto, okay? Toto was grandfather, I think. Anyway, okay? So, and he actually learned it in context. The story that I have is he learned it in context with spear, right? Because he was a snot-nosed teenager, right? Who had a lot of martial experience at this point, right? So Sensei looks at him and says, "You can use sword, yes?" Yeah. Okay. So if I come at you with a staff or a spear, you can block with a sword. Yeah, of course, right? So great. Comes in with this attack, and Takuma Sensei, right, snotty-nosed teenager, does this little block parry thing, and the next thing he knows, he's hit and or tagged with this thing 3 times. And the lesson is, every time I engage the attacker, he throws something, I start touching him, he gets touched 3 times. Okay? So the models we're going to work on Friday are going to be all about this kind of thing. But remember, we went back to this Tai Sabaki, right? This body management. Okay? So I'm gonna use my reflection, which would be you looking at me, right? So if I'm in this position, right, and the attack comes in, and my sabaki moves me at this angle, what's my hand pointing at? It's pointing over there. Is that at you? No. Which means I have to do what? To come back over to get it. It's not lined up. Okay. Remember those body things we were talking about, right? Glycogen stores. I should have mentioned something else called. I don't know what's called, but you lose fine motor skills under pressure, under the fight-flight mechanism, right? You lose fine motor skills. Can't play the piano, whether you can play it before or not, right? You're reduced to gross motor skills and gross mental functions. So the reason we practice the Kihon no Kihon and the Kihon Gata, the fundamental techniques, over and over and over again, is to get them into muscle memory so that your left brain takes a vacation and you're operating on nothing but instinctive response. the habitual instinctive response you've reprogrammed yourself with is to put you in a position where do that counter strike, bump that arm to the side. Butsumetsu is right in front of my thumb because the scrolls say that I punch him with my legs. It doesn't mean my legs make contact with him. That means from here, right, I do this little gliding thing, hip and knee, and that drives it into the, so I'm not, okay? One, it's already there. Two, as soon as I hit it, his face comes flying forward. All I have to, firing big muscles to make that happen, okay? Is that the end of it? No. It's a 1, 2, 3, catch it, okay? Another version of it is more of a Togakure Koto kind of thing where the punch comes in, right? And I counter strike this way, right? This big circular counter strike that knocks it out of the way, right? Boom. And then, but it's not out here and then bringing it back. I'm making a circle, okay? I'm making a circle, okay? So my body carries the circle into it. And while it's still coming around, my legs bring it right back into position, and then I'm right back there. So two different ways to do the exact same thing. But the point is, at the end of the striking motion, the fist is right back in front of the target. It's not out and then back. We don't require, right, the ability to dance a jig, okay? So it's in Jumonji no Kata, it's in Hicho no Kata, it's in Jumonji no Kata. You know, I know that because they're all variations of the same damn thing, okay? So let's look at the sword thing. I'll draw it out here quickly, right? And again, it's going to be kind of an odd kind of direction kind of thing, right? But I'm going to draw it from the angle that I will see once I've shifted, okay? So that's a nose, right? So he's slightly off front this way, okay? And he's done his little thing here, boom, boom, boom. Sword is out, right? And it's already done its cut, okay? So again, this is upper intermediate to advanced because we have to have precision going on. In my school, in my curriculum, we're talking that precision that's needed to get second dan because that's going to be needed moving on, okay? So in sword work, in Battojutsu, right? Belt here, okay? So we could do this with the sword already out and all that, right? But the basic is to do this while he's coming. So we're going to be avoiding the attack, right? We're going to be avoiding the attack that's coming in off at this angle. See if I can't just wreck the place, right? And as this comes out and my body alignment is here, when this comes out and the boshi comes down, the first target it touches is right here. This is a primary target for swordsmen. Okay? Here, another one is at the small bones of the ankle, top of the metatarsals that are coming together, the foot bones, right? And another one is right between the foot bones where you snap them. You just drive the sword in and snap those things because that causes everything to drop. When this is cut, right? So the angle I'm looking at is he comes in here this way. So I'm going to be over here and I'm cutting right here. What that does is makes the stability of the wrist fall apart. So now he can't control his weapon with this hand. Yeah, he can still do this one. Right. Okay. So here's what we're doing. Let me use a different color here, right? We're shifting off angle. So again, here's that Tai Sabaki. Not just getting out of the way, not just doing whatever. I get out of the way so I'm at an angle so that my sword is on a very, very specific angle, okay? So I've cut that wrist. What's the boshi pointing at? That shoulder pocket. That shoulder pocket. We'll do this on Friday so you're more clear about it, okay? So I've gotten out of the way, cut that, and all I have to do is drive forward with my knees and push forward. So this gets cut and the direct straight line because we don't have fine motor skills, okay? We're going to draw it, boom, cut, and ski, okay? cut takes this, or at least touches, and as we're cutting through those connective tissues to cause that to fall apart, the boshi is driving through this shoulder pocket. What's that going to do? Make this one lose control of the sword. Okay, that's 2. Then we've cut, and as we draw back out, we're going to rotate the edge of the blade, draw it out as I'm stepping to move on to the next engagement. So what does that do? Okay, if you're following along, you already know what's going to happen, right? We've cut through here, and now I'm going to draw out as I'm moving in a different direction. The sword blade is going to cut itself back out of that hole, right across the neck. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going. I've done nothing but draw, extend, retract, keep moving. Okay? This is a Kihon. It's a basic. It's a fundamental. Okay? It's not about dancing all over the place. It's not about ching, 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 ching. Okay? I don't give a shit what Shokasugi does. Okay? It's not about that. Okay? Now, does that happen in Japanese sword work? Yeah. But you know what? A lot of times when it happens, it's incidental and accidental. Okay? But what we're looking at here is every time I tag. So if we took a look at, let's see, just anything unarmed, right? He throws a punch, I deliver that counter strike, and I drive forward, punch him in the shoulder socket, right? So 1, 2, and then I've got a kick or some kind of punch or whatever, right? That doesn't mean that this San-Uchi doesn't mean there can't be 4 attacks, 5 attacks, or whatever. But the goal that we're aiming for is every time we engage, he gets tagged 3 times. Okay. So this week we're taking a look at the targets are all different. Okay. Next week when we do this, we're going to come back at San-Uchi again, and we're going to take a look at striking the same target 3 times. So now, if I'm the smaller, weaker, if I'm ill, whatever, right? And from closer range where I don't have as much wind up because I don't want to have tells, right? What we're going to be doing is taking the lesson a couple of weeks ago that we did on the fist, right? And I told you 9 of them, right? We're here because the other fists are other parts of the body, right? Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how going from one kamae to another naturally creates a strike or a cut. Naturally changing your hand from one fist to another creates a different strike, but it also creates a different distance from another set of knuckles or striking surface or whatever, right? So what we're going to be doing is not focusing so much on hitting hard, but in hitting and then damaging that next piece and the next piece and the next piece. Again, I don't want to give it all away. We'll take a look at it next week. But for this week, what we're looking at is this idea of San-Uchi, okay? Every time we engage, right? What this does is allows us within a couple of 2 to 4 seconds, boom, 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 2 to 3 seconds, maybe, right? Boom, 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 and get the hell out of Dodge or move on to the next thing, or whatever. Because you don't have time to be trading shots, right? As a former bodyguard, right? If I was on the team that we're protecting the principal, that's the person that writes the paycheck, okay? We had a saying, right? Dead clients don't pay, okay? So our job is to, right? So maybe I'm on left flank, right? We're heading in that direction. So we got point man. There's me. On the other side of the principal is right flank, and then there's a guy bringing up the rear, right? We all have certain jobs. If somebody comes in here to take this guy or to do something, I can't get all caught up with him, because if I get all caught up with him and we're duking it out or I'm wrestling him to the ground and all that kind of stuff, guess what? There's now an open hole in that perimeter and somebody else can come rushing through. My job is to redirect this guy and as quickly as possible pass him off to secondary security, and they can frickin' wrestle him to the ground. My job is to handle this. Pass him off, yell gun. Doesn't matter if there was a weapon or not, what the weapon is or whatever. That's our code word, right? Gun, all of us crash in against this guy and execute the escape route from that particular point in the room, because we have multiple escape routes, because we don't think like most people do about martial arts. Mathematical, right? So if something happens, we're heading over there. Well, shit, what if we're on that side of the room? And there's another door over there. Where's the danger in the room? Okay? Critical strategic thinking, right? So here's the thing. You don't have to learn this stuff. You don't, right? I'm going to do the same thing my teachers did in Japan. It's just a suggestion. But if you want to, there's the link, right? See you on Friday, It's $4.99 for the class. It's a 75 to 90-minute class. We're going to be doing things with, just off the top of my head right now, staff or stick work, sword. We'll do at least this one. We might do something with a knife just to show you how it works that way, and unarmed. Give you more examples about how this works. Okay. If you want to do it, great. If you don't, no harm, no foul. If you do want to do it, though, we have a strict limit of 15 people. Okay. And the doors close for registration at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. Class starts at 6. Okay. We need to have lead time for those last minute rush signups and all that stuff to make sure we get the information to them so they can be on the live class. Okay. If you can't make it, it's $5. Sign up. And as soon as the class is over, the recording goes out. So you're still getting a lesson anyway. Okay. Unless you don't want it, in which case I've given you more than enough. So option A, take what I gave you, spend the next couple of weeks, months, years, whatever, figuring it out. You'll figure it out, right? However short or long that may take. Or option B, take the next step, get involved, and get that next piece, all right? So that's what I got for this week, okay? As soon as we get all this stuff processed, there will be some end videos on this. So we're going to try to pop up the one for the 3-in-1 kind of thing and anything that's related. And don't forget, I bury a lot of stuff down in the description area down there, right? It's not just a little one-liner. You go down there and you will see everything from timestamps, so you can jump straight to other parts of this for reference later, right? To, we're going to put the links so you can get the worksheet. You need to give us about 24 to 48 hours for that to make sure everything's working and in place. But there's other stuff down there as well, okay? And if you really want to take things farther, right, use the link at the bottom, schedule a call with me, and we'll really ramp up your training, okay? Other than that, that's what I got for this week. I will talk to you again next week on Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. See you next time.